Okay, welcome to this month's Q&A, and my first question is, how does the cover art process work? Are you already planning that? Well, the cover art for all of our various albums and EPs and that, I tend to think of them as a visual representation, whereas the album is a collection of songs or stories in music form. The artwork is also a collection, but is a visual representation of the themes behind the album. And in terms of if we're already planning that, yes, we are. I think I started thinking about it almost the same time I started thinking about the ideas for the songs and started thinking about imagery in my head. And I'm about to start sketching out some ideas to send them off to Chris Putter, the guy that did the artwork for The Ties That Bind, because he should hopefully be working with us on this album too. So there you go. Hope that answers your questions.
Death row meal. I think that means, what would my death row meal be? So many nice things. I think it would have to be Christmas dinner.
Happy Christmas, one and all.
Ooh.
So roast turkey, roast potatoes, roast parsnips, sprouts.
Have these sprouts been done properly?
Yes.
I can't see any little
Carrots, pigs in blankets, Yorkshire pudding, gravy.
There's gravy. Tickety boo.
Stuffing, or just all the trimmings. That'd be delicious.
All right, in the Inevitable Biopic about us, who would I get to play the band? Okay, so I think for Phil, I would get Paul Rudd. I don't know, I think he would kind of get Phil's sense of humour. For Bones, I'd probably pick Bradley Cooper, because I think him and Paul Rudd would work really well together. And for me, I would get Jason Momoa, just because I can and it's my biopic and I choose him.
What can you say about the inspiration or overall themes for the lyrics in the new material?
You could ask yourself a question.
We have to go back pre-pandemic. I sort of started thinking about these songs all around the time when Brexit was still kind of causing a lot of mischief, basically. Everybody, on both sides of the spectrum had been lied to, and how much disunion it had caused amongst people, even within friendship groups and things like that. And I was feeling a bit angry and frustrated, and that played into definitely some of the early songs that I wrote for this.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
What happened then was the pandemic then hit, and everything changed. My life fell off the edge of a cliff. In a strange kind of way, a positivity has actually started to emerge from some of the songs that maybe I didn't necessarily expect.
Grab a little piece of heaven and let's get on with it.
Which is sort of, I guess, looking to what future we can rebuild.
All right, if you could swap limbs with any other member of Marissa Molasses, who would it be and why?
I'm ready!
I would probably go for Bones' legs, because he's got a really cute butt in flares. Phil's arms. When he goes into a solo, I just don't understand how you can control fingers like that.
If Mom had their own genre named after your sound, what would that genre be called? This is hard.
You see, I'm writing in the style of an Indonesian folk tune, so this is not one you've heard.
Did you know that there's a genre out there called porno grind? But apparently it's grindcore with pornographic themes in the lyrics.
Right.
Obviously. So I thought, right, let's apply that to Marissa Molasses.
Are you ready?
I'm ready!
So if you've been watching Bones' song breakdowns recently, you'll know that the early stuff was all about historical disasters and so on. And the new stuff is just generally whatever inspires Bones. So how do I describe that?
A trilogy, really, a musical trilogy that I'm doing.
I can't describe that.
We're not just going to let you walk out of here.
So I thought, right, if a man on the street asked me about my band, how would I describe us? And I thought, Blues Doom. swampy doom rock.
Will living on a boat influence your songwriting? Right, for those of you that don't know, during the pandemic, I moved on to my narrowboat earlier than expected. It's not completely finished. I don't live here full time. I spend most of the week here working on it and then live somewhere else or stay somewhere else at the weekends. And I guess it has affected my songwriting in ways probably that I don't perceive, because I am a lot closer to nature here. I mean, literally, if I stick my arms out on either side of me, I'm touching either side of the boat, and nature is on the other side of that. And so you hear the rain more, you hear the wind more, animals stick their head in through the window, and there's a peace here. Right, if I just stop talking, nothing really, nothing. So it's peaceful, which is a double-edged sword. You know, sometimes you like a bit of hustle and bustle, and sometimes you want calm. And so the calm is in abundance here. And so I think that has probably helped with like maybe finding the more positive side. But yes, definitely had a big influence on me, I think.
Okay, if we could get a song recreated by an orchestra, which one would it be? So I would probably pick Persona Non Grata, just because it's really, really heavy. I think it would be really cool to hear that with, you know, like a string section, like especially at the beginning, where it's just Bones singing and me playing the drums with that feedbackiness provided by Phil. Yeah, I'd just be really interested to hear that with, you know, the orchestra, and just see what they would do with it. However, rather than recreate it, I would like to hear an orchestra play along with it, kind of like the Metallica S&M album. I think that would be really, really cool. So I guess San Francisco Symphony Orchestra playing Persona Non Grata with us would be absolutely amazing.
With which band would your dream collaboration be with? Well, I'm kind of cheating. I'm not really going to choose a band. I'm going to choose a person.
I like surprises.
I know Raj has kind of answered this a few months ago, but I don't care. I would choose David Bowie. Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. I'm a fan of most of his work. I know the other guys are too, and I know he was a massive fan of collaborating with people. I mean, he collaborated with Queen, with, you know, Bing Crosby,
Can it be?
with Mick Jagger. That Mr. Bowie would recognise that we're trying to stretch ourselves.
Go a little bit out of your depth.
Slightly different than what we'd normally play.
And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting.
Yeah, David Bowie, I think.
All right, this one is, what do you think of your Patreon setup, and how do you think it will change things for you in the future? I think Patreon's been absolutely brilliant in terms of like workload. It did feel like we were doing loads and loads of work at the beginning, but you know, we've ironed things out a bit and everything's kind of running a little bit smoother. The thing I really like about it is that it allows us to connect to you guys. Before it'd be like at gigs and you know, people would ask us questions there. You know, you guys actually know this is coming every month, and you get to, you know, really think about it and like dive in deep. But there definitely seems to be a lot more of a connection with everyone. What Patreon allows us to do is get a bit more control. Our fans get a lot more value. So I think it's going to be really, really great for like connecting with as many people as we can.
Several groups like Clutch, Run the Jewels and Megadeth have released their own beers. Have you ever considered doing anything along these lines? What would you call it, and what special ingredient would it contain to set itself apart from the rest?
It comes in paints? I can get you one.
If you're a hard rock band these days, the thing is to have your own alcoholic beverage, isn't it?
Well, I like it so far.
I think Iron Maiden have done them. AC/DC, Motorhead have done various things. I mean, even bands on our own scene, like Barbarian Hermit and Son of Boar, they've just released a beer. Before lockdown, Bones was in contact with someone who actually made mead, which would have been ideal actually, because we all love mead, all three of us, and it's different. Unfortunately, that has fallen by the wayside because of lockdown, so on and so forth. But hopefully we'll get in contact again. But if we did have our own Marassa molasses mead, it would obviously have to have molasses in, right? And what to call it? Well, I've come up with 3, and they get better as I go down the list, right? First one, Rotten Teeth Mead. Yeah, okay, does the job, right? Next one is Stranger Brew. And my personal favourite, Mead Nads.
Have you considered using your platform to project messages about politics, climate emergency and stuff?
Russia, 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 Russia.
In terms of writing a song specifically about something to do with politics or to do with climate change, I think I would have to have had personally been directly affected by it rather than the more existential threat of the climate emergency. Don't get me wrong, it is something I'm worried about, but I tend to write songs now, I write songs about my direct experience of things.
I don't do requests.
I will naturally put elements of politics and things to do with nature and that in my songs because they're things that I believe in, but they will always be from my point of view rather than necessarily in a global sense. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, that's the last one. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.